from making up for his unfair dismissal at the hands of James Gunn to potentially playing a villain in Thunderbolts. Here's everything you need to know about Henry Cavill's rumored Marvel debut. One thing's for sure, he kinda deserves it after James Gunn gave him the boot. Cavill revealed that he'd been passed over for the upcoming Superman reboot in an Instagram post, and fans were absolutely furious when they heard. You all know that James Gunn's looking to reboot the DCU, right? He's the new Top Gun at DC Studios and wants to streamline the franchise to make it more like Marvel. Now, the DCEU's been notoriously messy from the get-go. While Zack Snyder managed to carve out a niche for himself among the fans, his vision for the DCEU suffered from a serious lack of cohesion. Gunn wants to fix all this by wiping the slate clean, but that also means distancing his new DCU from the previous franchise. Henry Cavill's greatest strength ended up working against him. He was the face of the DCEU, which meant that Gunn needed a new Superman. Also, considering the DCU's starting from scratch, Gunn obviously needs a younger actor in the role. Superman Legacy will show us a Clark Kent who's only just moved to Metropolis. It'll depict the beginning of Clark's career at the Daily Planet, along with his career as the Man of Steel. Cavill's a bit long in the tooth to be playing a young Superman, so as upsetting as it sounds, Gunn has a good reason for changing things up. Unfortunately, things only got worse for Cavill, because he left The Witcher shortly after this. Basically, Henry had a problem with how the showrunners were deviating from the source material, and he just couldn't continue working on the project in good conscience. Now, Superman and Geralt of Rivia were two of Henry's biggest roles to date, and he ended up losing them in one fell swoop. Cavill's career is in a pretty bad place, but if the reports I'm hearing are true, his recent troubles might have opened up even better opportunities for him. I'm talking about Henry Cavill's Marvel debut rumors. There's nothing concrete as of now, but Cavill's been connected to at least a half dozen MCU roles, and I'll say that both parties are going to benefit from this arrangement. You've got to understand the MCU's been in a rough spot lately. The monumental Infinity Saga is starting to look like lightning in a bottle. Because with the exception of No Way Home, none of Phase 4's movies managed to recapture that elusive Marvel magic. The franchise is starting to look like a shadow of its former self, and with Phase 5 off to a terrible start with Quantumania, Marvel Studios needs all the help it can get to save the sinking ship. Hiring a beloved actor recently spurned by their rivals would be a masterstroke on Marvel's part, and Henry sure needs another major franchise to get involved with. It seems like both their paths are aligning pretty neatly, but there's still the question of who he might play. Well, considering this is Superman we're talking about, I could see Hyperion being a great fit. In case you don't know, Hyperion's the last of the Eternals in the comics. His powers are pretty similar to the Man of Steel's, including super strength, the ability to fly, and even X-ray vision. Eternals is perhaps the worst Marvel film of all time, but it still brought the Celestials and their creations into the MCU. If we ever get a sequel that features more of their kind, Hyperion's bound to show up, so there's a good chance that this is the role Henry's been waiting for. That said, Hyperion's essentially a Superman knockoff. Something tells me Cavill won't be up for a role like this after actually playing the Man of Steel, and it's doubtful that the MCU would want the DCEU's poster boy for Hyperion either. I feel like Cavill's MCU debut will be nothing like his DCEU appearances, and there's a particularly exciting Marvel project that'll help him get out of his comfort zone. The X-Men is probably the most anticipated superhero team to join the MCU, and rumor has it that Cavill might play Cyclops. We're gonna need an intense actor to play the leader of the X-Men, and Cavill certainly pulled that off with his grim, stoic portrayal of Superman. This would also mark the second time he plays a character with laser eyes, so playing Cyclops might be a fun reference to his earlier work. But the fans seem to have made up their mind about which X-Man they want Cavill to play. Just take a look at this fan art depicting him as Wolverine. You have to admit, Henry's got it in him to play the aggressive anti-hero to perfection. He's already played a beastly character on The Witcher, so he'd be able to put his experience to good use if he's the MCU's Wolverine. Look, Disney was technically making do with Iron Man and the rest, because they didn't have the rights to Marvel's true A-listers like X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man. Disney's acquisition of 21st Century Fox meant that Spider-Man could finally show up in the main timeline. And there's a Fantastic Four movie scheduled for Phase 6, too. Could the MCU be planning a massive reveal with Cavill in the lead role? It's doubtful, because Hugh Jackman's officially returning as Wolverine in Deadpool 3. Even though Logan was marketed as his last appearance in the role, the prospect of giving fans a real Deadpool and Wolverine team-up proved too great to resist. Now, the first two Deadpool movies have nothing to do with the MCU, but the third film's gonna bring the Merc with a mouth to the franchise. I'm guessing the multiverse plays a role in all this, but as exciting as this sounds, it also ruins Cavill's chances of playing Wolverine? Or does it? Get this, Jackman might not be playing the MCU's official Wolverine. Rather, he'll be playing a variant from a different universe. That kind of makes sense, because it'd be weird to just drop a Wolverine with so much non-canon history into Phase 6, especially given how Marvel tends to hire new people when debuting major characters. Andrew Garfield didn't join the MCU as Spider-Man. He showed up as an alternate web crawler when the multiverse cracked open in No Way Home, and I have a feeling that Hugh Jackman's Wolverine will get the same treatment. The Australian actor's basically confirmed that he's not the MCU's main Wolverine anyway, and there's also some evidence that the official version's already running around on Earth 616. If you watch She-Hulk's second episode closely, you'd get a brief glimpse of a headline talking about a dude with metal claws. I seriously doubt that's a coincidence, because Wolverine's the most famous superhero with that attribute. And it'd make zero sense for Marvel to tease this if they're not planning a big reveal in the near future. Then again, I'm still willing to bet that Cavill's MCU debut will happen in Deadpool 3, and it all has to do with the full name of the film. In May 2023, Marvel announced the movie's official title to be Deadpool Tidal Wave. Comics fans would know that this hints at a huge plotline where Magneto tries to steal Thor's hammer, but it's eventually revealed that Dr. Doom is behind it all. The timing seems almost too good to be true. Thor's story was left open-ended in Love and Thunder. And with Fantastic Four coming up right after Deadpool 3, the film might help introduce Dr. Doom through one of his most villainous plots. Cavill's allegedly signed a major deal with Disney to star in upcoming Marvel projects, and it would be refreshing to see him play a supervillain after so many years playing the hero. Dr. Doom's not the only antagonist Cavill's rumored to play either. You see, Thunderbolts is supposed to have a complex baddie who's kinda like an evil Superman, so it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see how Henry'd fit in. To be more specific, the team of misfits, villains, and anti-heroes in Thunderbolts will face off against Sentry, who happens to be one of the most absurdly powerful characters in Marvel Comics. Some sources claim that Ryan Gosling's being eyed for the role, with others saying that Alexander Skarsgård is the frontrunner. The fans, however, clearly want to see Cavill play the Golden Man, and they've flooded Twitter to say how perfect Henry is for the role. Cavill stans are sick and tired of him being mistreated, so Marvel can score some serious points here, not to mention stealing their competitor's biggest weapon right from under their noses. Cavill helped Warner Brothers turn the DCEU into a viable brand, because he was probably one of the few good things about the Snyderverse. The MCU will be lucky to have him. Here's to hoping he gets the role he deserves. So from potentially playing Sentry in Thunderbolts to the way this will help him get back at James Gunn for firing him, this was everything you needed to know about Henry Cavill's MCU debut rumors.